Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS Legacy. Sorority secrets of the goddess next door are revealed in this all-new ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS Legacy in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. A California man allegedly shot and killed his wife with an AR-15 in front of his 15-year-old son.
Police say a woman was shot and killed inside this home, and minutes later, a nearby crash was linked to the same incident. Now, a 37-year-old man has been arrested for murder. This is moments after a husband allegedly killed his wife. Surveillance video shows 37-year-old Manuel Robles running from his home, leaving his children heartbroken. On Wednesday, around 9:23 p.m., the Bakersfield Police Department responded to reports of a shooting at a home in the 6200 block of Tallulah Falls Court, where they found a woman dead.
213 at Tallulah Falls, then multiple RVs advising a juvenile stated the father possibly killed the mom.
1 minute after leaving, officers responded to a crash involving Robles, who was arrested shortly after. People we spoke with say Robles had been on edge for weeks, and some were worried something like this could happen.
There's been a lot of commotion in the neighborhood. A couple weeks ago, he had found out that his wife was going behind his back, and so we've kind of been on edge because there's been some damage. And
Parker Pilney has lived in the neighborhood for 2 decades and says it's always been quiet. He says Robles didn't seem like the most friendliest person and often caused a ruckus.
Start his truck throughout the hours of the night, coming and going every 5 minutes, stepping on the gas, lighting up the tires.
According to him and another neighbor, officers had been to the home before.
It was a couple weeks ago when he had caused damage to his own vehicles, releasing anger that the cops had came out to speak with him.
Robles reportedly broke all the car windows and slashed the tires from his wife's Escalade along with his own Corvette, accusing her of cheating on him. Just days before the shooting, a neighbor says he saw Robles walking up the street, screaming and crying, then putting a rifle in his truck before driving off. Sources tell Eyewitness News that the couple was in the process of divorce. Robles is now charged with first-degree murder, intentionally injuring his spouse, and willful cruelty to a child.
That's horrible. You don't wish that upon anybody. Something that traumatic probably stick with them forever.
According to booking records, Manuel Robles is expected to be in court on December 2nd. Reporting in Northwest Bakersfield, Maria Celeste Alfaro, Eyewitness News.
And a reminder, the National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24/7. Just call 1-800-799-7233. They'll listen and help connect you with support and resources near you.
Hi, I'm Rochelle Murcia with Eyewitness News Bakersfield Now on YouTube. Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel where we have tons of great content to choose from. While you're here, go ahead and click on the subscribe button right there. That way you can stay up to date on all the things related within Kern County. Thanks for watching.
Now, according to reports, 37-year-old Manuel Robles allegedly took the life of his wife with an AR-15 rifle in front of his 15-year-old son and wound up shooting her in the bedroom of his Bakersfield, California home. Now, according to these reports, Manuel Robles was extremely angry about the divorce that his wife was filing on him after she allegedly had an affair with another man, and this was confirmed by another family member. And that evening, he and his wife were drinking, and as they were drinking, they started to argue, possibly about this affair. And as Robles was drinking, he drank 2 bottles of vodka, and says he allegedly blacked out. But as they were having this argument, this is where the son hoped to intervene, and this is where he came into the bedroom, finding his mother in a fetal position on her bed, while Manuel Robles stood over her, pointing a handgun at her. Now, Robles then fired the weapon several times at a safe in the bedroom before leaving, then came back with an AR-15 rifle and said, "This is what happens when you cheat," and shot his wife several times in front of his son, and that's where Manuel Robles then put the gun barrel in his mouth, but didn't pull the trigger, and that's where the son came in, wrestled the gun away from his father, threw it over a fence, and then followed his father into the kitchen, wrestling knives away from his father out of fear he would stab himself with one, and then Robles then fled the scene in his truck, then got into an accident at a shopping center about 2 miles from his home, where police wound up arresting him and then catching him on body cam, confessing to the crime, saying as after being cuffed, he basically effed up and cheated on his wife, and his wife cheated on him, and he effed up, and then said she made a mistake, and he killed her for it as they were taking him into custody. And that's where the police in California took him into custody. And after the police wound up taking him into custody, this is where this didn't look like an isolated incident to me, but fit the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. Now, it's clear to me from listening to the reports on this story and what the son said in interviews that Manuel Robles was one of these beta males who was struggling not just with alcohol, but was also struggling with insecurity. And when it comes to many of these beta males are extremely insecure, and it's those insecurities that can drive them to go out and look to participate in escalating their behavior into violence and eventually into violent crimes, because many of these beta males basically are filled with a lot of doubts based on that insecurity as related to the overall station in life that they have. Now, Manuel Robles, at 37 years old, was a man who was living very well. He was living in, I believe, this Bakersfield, California, in a very nice home where he had a safe in his bedroom and had several vehicles. He had a truck. His wife was driving a Cadillac Escalade, and he had a Corvette. And this man, as he was doing well financially, possibly as related to his subconscious, didn't believe that he deserved the success that he had. And that's a trait that many beta males have, that it leads to their undoing, because these men, again, they feel like they don't deserve the success that they have in life. And because they feel that they don't deserve the success that they have in life, what they do is things to sabotage that success and undermine all of the things that they work for, because they just can't cope with the idea that they've achieved something in life. And that's possibly what led to the foundation of this man looking to be motivated to, again, participate in this disturbing act of domestic violence that happened on that tragic day of November 26th of last year. Now, this guy, again, was simmering and boiling in anger for an extended period of time, and had been dealing with issues of that anger, and when he drank, and he would put holes in the walls of his Bakersfield home. And as he would put holes in the wall of his home after he drank, this man basically was creating a situation that was looking more and more untenable for his wife and possibly his children. And that's possibly made it where his wife didn't feel like she wanted to be a part of the relationship anymore, because most women, when they get involved with beta males, it's usually, there's two scenarios that happen. Usually a woman will get involved with a beta male and they'll see him as a tool that they can use in some cases, but in a lot of cases what happens with women who are married to beta males is that these men's insecurities overrun them, and as their insecurities overrun them, basically those women feel uncomfortable in those relationships, and eventually what they wind up doing is wind up leaving the relationship emotionally, because they can't deal with this man and his insecurities. And because they can't deal with his insecurities, this is what drives that woman into the arms of another man, and that basically is like adding fuel to a fire. And that's what happened here with Ana Karen Robles. She was in this relationship with this guy Manuel Robles, and this man, again, was possibly so insecure that she basically felt like she could not be close to this man anymore. And eventually what happened was she wound up possibly having an affair that was confirmed by another family member who had been following her. And after this was confirmed, this is where the fuel was added to the fire of this man's insecurities. And as that fuel was added to the fire of his insecurities, that's where this male, who was simmering and boiling in anger, eventually wound up having more fuel added to his fire, and eventually the pot started to boil over as related to his anger, and that was even further exacerbated as related to the things when the wife eventually decided to file for divorce. And then when she decided to file for divorce, that's where this whole situation, which was again extremely tense, basically wound up exploding as this man exploded into rage. And as he exploded into this rage, that's where he drank these 2 bottles of alcohol, then wound up getting into an argument with his wife, who was possibly just looking to try to hold on until the divorce was over, as related to possibly getting the assets of this marriage. But sadly, in that quest to hold on to the assets and get custody of her children, sadly what happened here was this man eventually wound up exploding in this rage about his marriage falling apart and his whole life falling apart. And that's where he decided to go out here and look to destroy the world around him. And as he wanted to destroy the world around him, this is where he wound up pulling a handgun on his wife, and she feared for her life. She feared for her life as this man pulled a handgun on her, and this is where her son came in to try to intervene in this situation. But this man basically, after shooting at the safe, came out with this AR-15, and as he came out with this AR-15, he then shot his wife with the AR-15 in a way to get revenge for this woman, as he thought, sabotaging his life. But when I look at the picture of many of these insecure beta males, many times it's not just the woman who they think sabotages their life, it's them that sabotages their life. Usually they plan their self-sabotage subconsciously years before they even get involved with these women, because many of these men basically are insecure, and because they're insecure, what they do is they go out here and believe, again, they don't deserve the success they have in life, because, again, according to reports, this man was a nightmare to live around. I mean, he basically, again, was burning rubber on his cars. He was breaking windows out of his cars, as related to his frustration about this whole affair that was going on. According to some reports, this man was basically, again, he was dealing with, again, a lot of insecurities, and those things were making him act out and drink and basically making it where he was, again, not able to go out here and deal with things. And that's what led to this great tragedy happening, was this man's deep insecurities about his relationship and as related to his success in life. And all of it, again, led to this, again, tragic incident where this man wound up taking the life of his wife in front of his son, traumatizing his son as related to this incident, and with a memory that he'll have for all of his life. He'll definitely need therapy to keep him from being a man in crisis like his father. I mean, that's the saddest part about this whole incident, is that a man in crisis basically created another man in crisis. And this is what happens when you have, again, a beta male out here. Again, beta males, again, but they may get great success in life, but they'll undermine that success by being their own worst enemy, and they'll destroy everything that they achieve because they don't believe that they deserve what they achieve. And that's what makes these guys, again, extremely dangerous to be around. They basically destroy everything around them because of their self-esteem and self-worth issues. That's what basically makes these guys get triggered and lose it as related to things, because any other man in a situation as related to a wife having an affair, he would have just told her to move out of his home if he was smart and have his property in his name, and then let the courts go deal with this and charge her to the game. That's what any rational, critical thinking man would have done in that situation, understanding they needed to preserve their health, their safety, and their mental health and their freedom. Unfortunately, with the case of a beta male, a lot of these guys feel instead of think, and because they feel instead of think, what they do is again sit there simmering and boiling in anger, and as they simmer and boil in anger, they eventually wind up exploding in a rage as related to their wives again getting involved with another man, and they look to go out here and make that woman pay to sate their feelings for a moment. And after looking to sate their feelings for just a moment, they wind up losing more important intangibles like their dignity, like their self-respect, like their legacy, because this man did this in front of his son. And then they lose the most important intangible, which is their freedom. And that's what this man wound up losing, because his son has basically witnessed this crime, and he's on police body cam confessing to this crime. So this is an open and shut case for the Bakersfield prosecutors to basically put in on trial. And that's where this guy will go from being a free man who was just dealing with a divorce to now dealing with being married to a criminal justice system, where he's now in the county jail and eventually will possibly wind up going to prison for the rest of his life, where he will wind up meeting all sorts of individuals like Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles, who will basically look to get married to him in the penitentiary by putting his hand in their pocket as they trade him for Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Crystal Light lemonade, packets of Crystal Light tea, Keef coffee, Taster's Choice coffee, off-brand lemon lime drink, off-brand grape drink, off-brand fruit punch, off-brand apple juice, off-brand Oreo cookies, off-brand duplex cookies, off-brand vanilla wafers, off-brand ginger snaps, off-brand sugar wafers, Hunt snack pack puddings, beef sausage, beef jerky with cheese, Flamin' Hot Cheetos, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pies, all the items of the commissary. And this guy will go from being married to a woman to eventually being married to one of these inmates with a hand in his pocket, and eventually being traded for spit roast of Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles, who eventually will go out here and again have their fun, eventually again going into the front side and the back side as they turn the tight end into a wide receiver. And Mr. Sprinkles will come in on special occasions, spray the back side and the front side with special sauce, and then call the guys from Cell Block D to see this guy's backside looking like the inside of a Louisiana crunch cake. That's the fate that's going to Manuel Robles may be dealing with in the future as related to this very heinous crime. But the more heinous crime he's done is to his son. He's put his son on a road to winding up becoming a man in crisis just like him, after again dealing with years of seeing his father abuse his mother. That boy has basically been traumatized and will need some therapy to get off this road of being a generational man in crisis. That's the part that again scares me about this whole situation. Again, it shows how one beta male can basically undermine his son and undermine the legacy of his family. That's what can happen here in these cases when a man doesn't understand his role as a man, because that's what happened I believe is happening here with this guy. This guy doesn't know his role, didn't know his role as a man, and basically the saddest part of this story is that he put his son on the road to becoming a man in crisis just like him, because this man basically didn't deal with whatever issues he had in therapy. Because when it comes to these beta males, again, these insecurities, these are things that they need to talk about in therapy, they need to talk about in counseling, and this is way before they even get involved with a woman. A lot of times with these guys, they manifest their insecurities by being jealous or being possessive or in other ways, and a lot of women, they'll just think, oh, it's just him being protective, or it's just something that they have to tolerate. No, when you see a beta male, again, The insecurities basically show you this man has issues, this man has serious issues before you get involved with him, and these issues, if they're not dealt with, will lead to you winding up being in a situation not with a man who loves you, but a man in crisis, and that whole situation is what can lead to a great tragedy like the one that is a part of this story. Now, if you want to learn to identify the behavior of beta males so that you can either avoid or help someone in your family who's dealing with these issues, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you'd like to see me make more videos talking about The Man Crisis, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback at e-readers, Isis, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteem Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this action-packed, all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem Horror in the Hamptons in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.